Hello, my name is Dave Manell, and I'm Director of Product Development here at Accountantsworld. The webinar I'm going to be going over today is mainly showing the new user interface. Since I had initially it was set up to be for bill payments and digital checks, I'm going to go into those a little bit more. But it's mainly just the new interface, how to use it, and how to get used to it. Okay, I have a lot to do, so let's get started. First thing is I'm going to show a lot of accounting power, but I'm also going to show a little bit of the main portal page and also a little bit of the admin page because a few things changed in there. So it'll help you learn how to go around in those screens too. So this is the main portal page where you would normally log in. When you log in, you would come to this screen. Couple of things here. If you want to do anything with setting up clients, setting up staff, you have to click on the gear. And gear in the program always means setup, or usually means setup type features. The second thing here is how to set up your password, how to change your password, how to change your phone number for the two-factor authentication. So if you click on the lock, it'll bring up a little screen here and you'll see your username. You won't see your password, but you'll have the ability to change it. You could also change your email address, and you can remove the phone number that is set up for your credentials in case you're getting a different phone or something. Instead of all of a sudden, I'm at another machine, I can't log in, I don't have the right number. You do this before that happens. And the Authenticator app, I really don't know too much about it, I'm sorry to say. It's an app that you can download on your phone, and that also takes care of authentication instead of using the two-factor. The phone is so easy, I just always use that. Okay, so I clicked on the gear, and it takes me into the client management screen. This is where you can see all of your clients in one spot. There's a couple of things that maybe have moved around a little bit on the screen, and maybe there's a feature that a lot of people aren't really aware of or aren't using, depending upon the size of your firm. So what I'm going to show here is I'm selecting 3 clients: this Grand Canyon Rafting, the Huntington Beach Pier Fish, and Ledgers R Us Bookkeeping. But I want these 3 clients to only be worked on by certain people in my staff. Now you can, when you're setting up a client, do it on a client by client basis. But if you imported 100 clients and you want to set up something like this, this is how you can do it in bulk. In my case, I'm only doing 3, but you choose the ones you want the selected people to do. Then you click on the assign staff, and it'll bring up a little pop-up which will have all of the staff in the firm listed there. Well, all the staff except for whoever it is that that is logged in at that time, because by default that person is also going. So here I chose that I want George Jetson, Heidi Manell, and Lady Manell. Those are 2 of my dogs in the past, but I want them to be watching over these clients. And then once you do that, you see that these clients here, they say it's limited access to those people. You'll notice over here, there's also some that are confidential to David Manell. When a client is marked as confidential, the only people who can see it is the one person, in this case me, or the CS owner of the firm, the main owner of the firm, can also see every client, no matter how they're marked. If you want to set up a firm, you have to click on Firm Options, and that'll bring you to this screen where the various firm information is. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but there's a couple of things I do want to touch on this screen. The setup admin and the firm's own client. Firm's own client is a client that you set up for yourself if you want to do bookkeeping in Accounting Power, and you don't have to pay the $20 per month bookkeeping fee when you set up your firm's own client. And the other factor about having a firm's own client is you can set up permissions for the firm's own client. So your staff can't go in and see everything in that. They can only see what you allow them to do. It's very similar to client permissions, but this is the only client that you can give your staff permissions or limit what they can see on a firm. Now the setup admin, this is what I was mentioning before as the main owner of the firm. And I get a call probably once or twice a week from somebody who has set up an administrator who is not the owner of the firm, the main administrator. And then something happens, that person went on to another job or something. And now the owner of the firm cannot log in because maybe they don't know their information and they can't change anything. So it's very important that to come in here and set up yourself as one of the two main admins has to be or should be the firm owner. And what you do is if the second one was blank, there'd be a thing here for add, and then you could add it and put yourself. So some companies, the main owner doesn't really want to be involved in these things. So they could put up one admin as the other person, and then they also put themselves as the second admin. Because I'm not exaggerating when I say at least once or twice a week, someone has a problem logging in because the main admin is no longer there. Okay, now to set up staff. The way you set up staff is you click on the little person icon over here. That will bring you into a list of all the staff that you have on your firm. You select to do a new staff member, you would come down here and click on the plus key. And I'm going to go over the plus key later. You'll see the plus key throughout the program, and it means to add. If you're here, it means to add a staff member. If you're in invoices, it means to add an invoice. So in this case, I'm clicking on Heidi. I open it up, and you can see there's the various information that is entered there. You can specify which programs you want that staff member to have access to. You can say if you want them to be an administrator, if you want them to be able to go into purchase and billing and to buy things like, let's say, as I'm going to show later, how to purchase complete accounting services. If you want certain staff member to be able to do it, who's not the main owner, you have to click and give them this right. A couple of other things here to notice. You may have a staff member who forgot their password. And the way you take care of that is from this screen, you just come down here and click on Reset Password. You may have a staff member who the two-factor on the phone is not set up right, and now they're on some other computer and it's asking them for that information. You just come into the staff and click on Reset Two-Factor Authentication. Okay, I mentioned the plus button, and also I'm going to show related actions, which we'll see a few other places with it. The plus button, as I said before, it always means to be adding something. Now I'm not on the staff screen, I'm on the client screen, so it means to add a client. Related actions are actions that aren't really being done maybe that frequently. So instead of putting them and clogging up the bottom menu bar here with them, we have them on the Related Actions tab. So in this case, when you're on the client management screen, there's three options here that are on it. One is to upload a template. This would be a template if you wanted to import clients. And the second one is to upload the new clients. So that's using the template after you get your clients in it to upload them. And that's a good way to bring clients into the system rather than having to enter them one at a time. Master client login. I don't know how many people are really using it, but sometimes you have a firm that has the same owner, or one of your clients, the same owner has 3 or 4 different companies. So rather than them having to have a separate login for each company, you can set up a master client login. And while I'm not going into it on this webinar, it's pretty simple. Once you click on it, you'll see a list of clients. You select which clients you want to be in that master client login. And then they use that one login information to access all of those clients rather than having to keep track of various logins. The house button, this is the button that takes you back to the main screen in order where you can launch to other programs, to the main portal page. Although I'm not really going back there in this demo right now. Okay, so that's giving some features that are in the admin and the main portal page. There's other features. There's a lot of things there, so I don't really have time to show everything at this point. But those are some of the more important things that you can learn there. So this is the new Accounting Power layout. And what exactly does it mean, or how can you understand it so that you can always come and know just exactly where you should be looking for something? There's a few different items here. There's the top menu bar, and these buttons here are things that are not really related to one specific client. These are things that are related either to all of your clients, like in the Client Center, I would go to the dashboard, or maybe you want to go to resources to see videos, or you want to set up firm information. These are things that are not really client specific. The side menu bar, which we call the right menu, is various functions that aren't the functions that you do in the day-to-day entry of a client. So maybe you're going to do reports, and that's not really an entry. You might be doing it on a day-to-day basis, but it's not the day-to-day type entries that you do for a client. It's also setting up information for a client, which is the gear icon. Once again, anywhere you see the gear icon, that's for setup. And I'm going to go over all these buttons a little bit later. One other thing that I want to point out is I'm calling it the Accounting Power layout, but this is really Accountantsworld layout. This is the same basic theory for payroll relief. It's the same basic theory for after the fact payroll, and also the same basic idea for practice relief, except the practice relief is not really related ever to an individual client. And now you have the left menu. The left menu is where you go to do your day-to-day operations. So if I wanted to enter checks, I would come here. I want to enter an invoice, I'll come here. If I want to do write-up work for a client, I'll come here. And on the bottom, this is that bottom bar. And as you saw before, there's a few different things, and I'm also going to show a few other things in a minute. But this is like an action bar for doing things. But the select client is always here. One big advantage for the select client being here is you can now do the select client from anywhere. You don't have to be in a particular spot. You don't have to come up here anymore and click on the client to select click on the little icon of the person to select a client. It's always available for you to use. Okay, now here's a few more items. Once again, that plus key, in this case, it means enter another bill. Anytime you see a dot and 3 lines next to it, that means there's a list associated. So if I wanted a list of bills, on this case, this is where I would go. Okay, sorry, I needed a drink. Save and cancel are always down here on the bottom. Right now, they're grayed out. They're grayed out because if you don't make any changes, they should not be on for you to save or cancel. And once again, the related actions button. So if you want to make a recurring invoice, you come here. The main thing to remember for related actions is, as I mentioned before, things that you're not doing always for a particular spot. You don't want to clog up the menu here. But anytime you're in doubt and you're thinking, well, how do I do this? Click on the related actions, and there's a good chance it will be there. One other thing we moved to the related actions is the delete button. And the reason why we did that is you don't want to make it too easy to accidentally delete some information. So now you have to go to the related actions. You pull it up, and then you delete it. And even then, you'll still be prompted to make sure that you really do want to delete the information. The hamburger button. This is, people love it because they like the name. The hamburger button hides the menu. So let's say you happen to be on a screen and you wanted to get more room because the menu does take up a little bit of screen real estate. Nowadays, people are getting larger and larger screens, so it's not as important, but sometimes it is. Or you might be on a laptop or something where you don't have as much room. But when you click on the hamburger, it'll hide the menu and it spreads out the screen a little bit. This screen, it doesn't really show so much how it can help you, but like on the trial balance screen, a screen with a lot of columns that can be helpful. Same thing if you do payroll relief, if you're in the payroll entry screen with the grid with all the various columns for the pay types. And once again, to get it back, you click on the hamburger button and then it brings the menu back. Also, anytime you move to another screen, it brings the menu back. So if I were to click on one of these other buttons, it'll bring the menu back. So now I'm going to go over this right menu here. I guess the real official name is the right vertical menu. I wrote that there so that I won't forget the official name. So I'm going to go over some of the features. First is reports. The advantage of having reports here is now no matter where you are, reports are very accessible for you. You click on that little icon, looks like a page, which is kind of standard in computers in general. That means you want to be printing something. So you would come here, you select which one you want to print. It'll take you to the screen, give you various options, and then you can print it out. The second thing is the gear. And once again, the gear is for setup items. So if you come in here, almost all of the setup items are here. You will see a couple of screens I'm going to go to later where actually instead of them being here, the setup for that particular screen is on a different in a different location. That's more because there you're doing setup for a screen as opposed to setup for a client. So anyway, once again, it's very easy. You're somewhere, you want to find out who the customers are, no matter what screen you are, just click on this, and there's your list of customers. I'm going to show a little bit more detail about the bank add-ons because those are part of some of the things that I had wanted to be showing according to the initial listing for the webinar. So what you would do, you would come here, you go to bank add-ons, and these are a setup item. And when you go there, there's 3 different bank add-ons. The first one is bank feeds. Bank feeds are good for helping you do write-up work to import information. They're done with a company called Yodely. There's no fee for you to use the bank feeds. The The provider we had before, there was a fee to use bank feeds with them. They cover most banks. Occasionally there will be a bank that they don't cover. And when there is one that they don't cover, you would go to banking, and then you would go into the same screen where you would import bank transactions, but you can import an Excel file or also an OFX file. So if the bank can provide either one of those, you can use those to import information. The difference is there you have to get the client to log in and give it to you. With the bank feeds, once the client is logged in, that information is readily available for you to get, instead of the client having to log in and send it to you. Digital checks. Digital checks, as we say here, provides a simple, economical way for you or your clients to pay bills and receive payments electronically. The first step in order to set up for digital checks is you just click on the link here. You'll come into a screen, and this will take you into a place to register with Checkbook.io, which is the company that we work with for the digital checks. And you enter the information, and then you would be ready to go. There's a lot of information. I'm not going to go through that here. And the fee is very, very nominal. And the fee is paid by whoever is using them. So if your client is using digital checks to pay bills, the fee is paid by them directly to Checkbook.io. So there's no monthly minimums, there's no subscription fees. It's $1 per digital check, which once you take in the cost of printing out a check, putting it in an envelope, mailing it out, the cost of the stamps and everything else, it's a very reasonable price. Now, it used to be in order to use digital checks, the vendor had to have an email address, but that's not true anymore. Checkbook.io will also mail a check out, and that's for $1.49 per check. So I'm going to go a little bit more into digital checks later. Merchant account. Merchant account is a good way for your clients or yourself to accept credit card payments. You can also accept payments on your invoices with digital checks. The big difference is digital checks is much more economical, although people still are more open to using the credit card and using a merchant account. So once again, you click here to get started. You'll come to a little screen. You could send the application to the client, or in this case, I chose apply now just to get to the next place. You could be with your client doing it with them on their machine. And it's going to bring up a screen like this. The company that we work with for this is Stripe. And you or your client will enter various information, and then they can be set up to accept digital checks. The fee for accepting digital checks is much higher, but it's a regular competitive merchant account price. It's 2.9% plus 30 cents for each charge. And they have a powerful screen that you can use to manage the payments and to look at things that are being done with them. But that's beyond what I'm going into here. Okay, back to the right vertical menu. That was just to give a glimpse into some of the other power features that we have. And those things can really help. If you're paying bills with digital checks, if you're accepting payments with digital checks, or accepting payments with merchant account, not only does it make it easy to pay the vendors, not only does it make it easy to receive payments, and once it's easy for your clients to pay you, or for your customers' clients to pay them, that does cut down on receivables, because one reason for outstanding receivables is just laziness, that it's too, people don't get around to paying. But not only does it do that, when you're using it, all the journal entries are automatic. So it removes that additional step. So anyway, let's go back to the right vertical menu. The next one down is the dashboard. The dashboard is a place where you get a lot of information about one particular client in your firm. So you can see profit and loss, current year against last year, well, last year against current year. You can see revenue and expense comparisons. You can see an expense analysis. There's also, you can, if you have budget set up, there's a graph for budgeting. And this is one of those screens where the setup is here rather than over here on the gear. So as you see, I come here, I click on setup, and then I can choose what I want to display or not to display. And I can also choose, if I give my client the rights to view it, what they can and cannot view. So let's say I selected that I did want projected cash balances to show, but now when I'm looking at this one, I don't want it to show. Where you see this little down arrow, you just click on it and it will hide that section. So if I click on that, that's now hidden, and now the vendor bills fit easily on the screen for you to see. Another thing you can do, which is very good from this screen, let's say you're looking for your customer and you want to see, well, which invoices are old. You can come and click on any of the headings, but in this case, I clicked on due date. And when you do that, it'll sort. And so now you can see, well, this person here, Duarte Hills Excavating, the bill is 3 years old and they owe $10,000. You can ask your client what's going on with that one. Maybe this is just a bad debt that needs to be written off. Maybe there's it's a good client and they're just ignoring it because they have something else coming up. But the advantage of this is it's easy for you to see what's going on with your clients and to give them that kind of a personalized service, so they see, yeah, my accountant knew that Duarte Hills was behind on paying the bill. Sorry. Okay. The next thing on the right vertical menu is the alerts. There's a lot of different types of alerts that we have in the system and can be set up. The first part is just informational. It just lets you know things that have been done. It doesn't mean anything's wrong, but you can see when the last bank rec was done. If a client has access, you can see when they've accessed the program. Alerts are things where you set up that you want these alerts. So you want, if in this particular client, if the cash account is below 25,000, you should be notified. And these are personalized, although I'm going to show it in a minute, but it's personalized per client. So $25,000 below that limit for one client might be a problem. Some other clients may never have 25,000 in their bank account, or some other client, you might want it to be 100,000 because they're always having large balances and they have a lot of money going in and out and they want to know if they get low. Warnings, these particular ones were for when the accounts receivable were above $1,000 for any particular client. You can also set up if the ratios go outside of a certain range. Maybe you have a client who shouldn't have cost of goods sold, but they're making entries, and now all of a sudden you see something in the cost of goods sold. So you would be notified that it's there. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but that's just one I could think of to set up that. So how do you set these up though? Once again, you go to the little button at the bottom, the preferences, and then you select how you want the alerts to be done. So in this case, you can also set up if you want to email alerts. So if your client's cash account goes below 25,000, they'll get an email letting them know if you choose to have the email alerts. And we're also planning on adding text message alerts too. And you see here's where we set up the accounts receivable. For this particular client, it was a low number, but I did that so there would be a lot of things to show there. Next thing on the menu, notes and the reminders. The notes are just a little thing. They're there for you to have specific notes about the client who you're working on. And any staff member who can activate that client can enter a note, and anybody in that client can read those notes. So if there's something special needs to be done, remembered about that client, it's easy to set them up here. Reminders, although I made mine to make sure to pick up milk on the way home, can be used for more important things, although that could also be important if you don't do it. You can set up that you want the reminder to be just for the current client. You could send out a reminder to all of your clients. Maybe all your clients are making estimated payments or something, or you need to get you want them to be up to date because tax season is coming, or whatever it might be. You can choose to send out them to all the clients, or you can send out a reminder that's just for your firm, and then your clients will not see it. That's for firm staff only, and you can choose when you want the reminder to expire. And when the reminder is there that's unread, there'll be a number here letting them know that there's something to read. That's right over here on this one. Find transactions in Cloud Cabinet. While I'm not going too deep into find transactions, it's a very powerful function, the find transactions. So in the one that I'm doing, I'm coming in here and I'm looking for transactions that were greater than or equal to $20,000. And I selected the date range that I want them for. This is something you could be using if you're going in reviewing a client and you want to look for large transactions to verify them. Sorry, I'm going to take another drink. You can also search by vendor. You can search by which account. You can search by the payee. And another one, which on occasion is important, is you can search for unbalanced transactions. While in a normal course of business, you really will never have unbalanced transactions. We do let you, when you're entering a journal entry or an adjusting journal entry, we let you save it when it's out of balance. Maybe you don't have all the information yet. And you as the accountant, we assume that you should have that authority. But maybe then at some later point, you're not quite sure, well, how come I'm out of balance now? So you can come here and you can search for any unbalanced entries. Cloud Cabinet. Now, I'm going to show in a minute that you also have this for launching, and you can use that to launch to Cloud Cabinet. What this button does is when you use this to go to Cloud Cabinet, it takes you into the Cloud Cabinet for the particular client you happen to be on. So if I want to go to Cloud Cabinet for widget manufacturing, I click right here, and then I'm there. If I click on the launcher and go into Cloud Cabinet, I'm going to be not in that particular client. And this is the launcher for moving to any of the other programs. That's what this button is. So that's that right vertical menu bar. That's all the features there. The top menu. The first one I'm going to show is resources, support documents, publications. So that's like links to, sorry, that's like links to IRS publications. Training, these are all of our training videos. Webinars, that's where all the webinars are saved, such as the one that I'm doing right now, should be up there tomorrow. So these are just things to help in learning and overseeing things in the practice. Client Center. These are all the various things where you can see information about all of your clients in one spot. The first one is the CFO dashboard. So when you go to the CFO dashboard, when you initially open it up, you're only going to see the clients that have alerts on them. So in this case, these 4, and that's why they're in red, they have alerts. You can click to show all the clients because maybe you're not really interested in alerts. You want to see when's the last time a client logged in. If people are doing in your staff are doing write-up work, well, what date are they up to? What's the current period? And like I said before, for another screen, any of these grid screens, you can sort, or almost all of them. So in this case, I'll also see which ones have suspense. That's where a client didn't know what to, or a member in your staff didn't know what to enter when they were doing recording a transaction. There was a $4,000 check. They didn't know what it was for, so they just marked it as expense account suspense. And that way you come in here and at a glance, you can see which ones need that to be done. And they need transactions to be coded. The client notification screen, this gives a lot of basic information about your clients in one spot. You can see like if there's checks that need to be printed, which clients have registered for bank feeds. You can see if there's any unmapped accounts, that's if you have bank feeds but you didn't set up the account. You can see when you've used bank feeds last, if they're set up for digital checks, how many invoices are pending, and also the merchant account. But another powerful thing from this screen is you can use this select button here to email. So what I did is I went in, first I sorted by bank feeds. And so then I had the 5 clients with bank feeds at the top that didn't have bank feeds. I marked the boxes on all 5 of them. Actually, I'm sorry, they were on the bottom. I marked the boxes for those 5. And then I can send an email out to them in bulk in order to get them set up for it. So in this case, I would choose the one, sign up for bank feeds. There's also a few other things that we have here. The performance analysis report. It's a very powerful report you can send out to your clients. It's similar to the dashboard, but it has a little bit more information. Another feature here is we have this, we are making business funding easier for you. Back when you were on the main login page, there's those 4 things at the bottom. One of them is a partnership we have with a firm for business funding. So if you send this email to your client, they'll then see that if they happen to need a business loan, it's an easy service to use, and you make a little money when they get the loan through it. It's Biz2 credit. Then you just click on the email button and the email goes out to the clients. Okay. The firm administration tab is here, and there's a few different things on that one. The first one I want to show is the client management. Client management, you can see all of your clients, you see the client codes, you see if they have client accounting services. You can also view which clients you've terminated. And what terminated means here, it means you terminated them from accounting power. So let's say you have a client, 3J Software, you don't want to use them anymore in accounting power, but you still want them to be used for payroll relief or after the fact payroll or something else. You would mark them, click on terminate, and then they won't be in accounting power anymore. But it does not remove them from other applications. Now, the terminate button on that client management screen in the main administration page removes them from everywhere. But this brings up one thing here. How do I sign up clients for client accounting services? It used to be that we had a button in here, and the main reason we changed that was because only the people who really have the rights to purchase should have it. So we set it up that it's on the purchase screen. So how do you do it? What you do, well, first let me go to sign up client, is if you want to sign up a client, you set up a new client on the main page, but you didn't specify at that time you wanted them to be for accounting power. You would click here and then you would select them, and now they're added to accounting power. The related actions on this one, there's a couple of features here. One is the sample client. Sample client is a pretty comprehensive client that you can use to look at what we're capable of doing, and also you can show it to your clients. Print client list is kind of a hidden feature that I think a lot of people don't use. And if you click on print client list, you can choose what you want to be included in the list and also what format you want to do. So that's from firm administration, client management to get a client list there. Now back to how to purchase CAS though. So you have to go back to the main screen. From the main screen, you click on purchase. Once you click on purchase, it's going to take you into this screen, and then you have to click on the Client Accounting Services tab. Once you've clicked on that tab, then you need to come down and click on subscribe. Once you click on subscribe, it's going to bring up a list of all the clients who don't have client accounting services, and then you choose which one you want to add. And once you choose it, it does let you know there's going to be a $20 per client per month fee for this service. And then you click OK, and then they're added for the client accounting services. The main difference when you purchase client accounting services is that you have the ability to do invoicing, such as sales invoice, expense invoices, and payables related to them, and receive payments on them. There's a few other little things that are also added. Okay, the firm options under firm administration. There's not really too much here that I really want to go into about this screen right now, but you do have the ability to have reports going out when you close a year, close a period, automatically to your client. If you want the date and time to be on the bottom of reports, you can do it. And also on the heading, maybe you want to have the doing business as name there instead of the actual company name. So, I mean, there's just a few different features here, but this is company-wide for all of your companies, and it's under firm administration. The one final thing I want to show under firm administration is enhancements. When you first log in to Accounting Power, anytime after you've logged out and you're logging back in, you're going to come to this screen. And when you're on this screen, you'll see notifications and you'll see a list of enhancements if there's recent enhancements. You'll also see some tips. But one change we made in the system is when you change to a new client, you no longer are on the screen. Anytime you change to a new client, it automatically takes you to the dashboard for that client, which is a good place to be, because then when you're going to a new client, right away you see important information about that client. But the one thing that's missing is if you blew by the initial screen when you were first coming in, which we all do, and we don't pay attention sometimes to it, but you wanted to find out about enhancements, you can get to it by going to Firm Administration, Enhancements. and then you'll always be able to see a list of recent enhancements. So whereas that used to be every time you would change a client, you would see it. Now you only see it when you log in initially, but you can always go and look for it here. One other thing, although I'm not really going into it too much, quick links. Quick links are things that you can set up for your clients or for yourself that are to make it easy to get somewhere. If your client's always going to sales invoicing, you could set up a quick link. So all they do is click on this and sales invoices will be there. When they do that, it takes them right to that screen. And it's easy to set up. What you do is you go to the screen you want to set up, you click on the quick links, and then you add it. Now, the left menu. The left menu is your basic actions that you're doing on a day-to-day basis for your clients. So I'm just going to kind of show what's in them. Under banking, you have all the regular banking options there. Under sales, now you'll notice if you're used to doing where your client has bookkeeping or complete accounting services, client accounting services, you used to have also customers and a few other options here. These are only now the action items. The others are now over here on the setup button. For expenses, same thing here. You don't see vendors here. Now, when you're entering a bill though, if you can add a vendor on the fly. Same thing for customers. You can't see the customer list from there, but you can add them on the fly. For write-up, these are all pretty much the same ones that we had before. Financials, all the options for financials are here. Even the setup options for financials, such as cash flow formatting, custom formatting, and preferences, and even are all on this one menu. Okay, so I'm going to go back a little bit more for digital checks. So the question is, I was showing like, how do you use digital checks? So the first step would be back when I was on a bill, if I entered a bill, I would approve that bill to be paid. Once I approve it to be paid, it will automatically come to the check printing screen. So when you're on the check printing screen, all the bills that are ready to be paid would be here. In this case, I just have this one for Diane Manel, $3. All I would do is I select it, then I would click on digital checks. And what happens once you do that is an email will go out to that vendor, go to this email address, and then they get an email. When they open up the email, they have the ability either to just accept the payment. The very first time they have to enter their information. Then going forward, they don't have to enter the bank information. Or if they don't like the idea of accepting the payment, they can, there'll be an image of a check there. They can click on that, print it out, and then either take it to a bank and deposit it, or nowadays it's pretty easy to deposit a check electronically. So that's how easy it is to pay with a digital check, and also for vendors to receive payments with digital checks. The Client Center Bill Payment Services screen. I showed two other screens here, the dashboard and also the notification screen. But this is the Bill Payment Services screen. And what this does is if you're offering a bill payment service to one of your clients, it helps you track that whole process. So you can come to this screen, you can see, well, 3J Software has 3 bills that aren't processed. The way a bill gets in there as unprocessed is your client can take a picture of a bill, and then from within the phone, they can have it uploaded to the program ready to be entered. So that's how the unprocessed get there. bills to be approved. These are after I go to the pay bill screen and I would specify which ones need to be done. Those are the bills to be approved, and bills to be paid are the ones that were approved and then they went on. Over here you have select email, so you could sort by bills to be approved and send an email out to all of your clients who needed to approve bills. An email will go out to them. They can be on their computer, on their smartphone. They'll be able to specify which bills they approve, if they approve a lesser amount, what amount they want it to be, and also what date the bills can be paid on. A few other features. This case, I happen to be on 3J software, but I could be on any client and I could click on any of these and I can see what's behind it. So if I click on bills unprocessed, I see that 3J software has a bill from Castroville Markets, a bill from High Power, and a bill from Zeppelin's R Us waiting to be processed. Same thing if I go to bills to be paid. Here I'll see that $3 bill for Diane Manel that I had set up there for the digital check. I just didn't actually send it. That's why it's still here. And the way that this works is it makes it very easy for you to follow through. So as something gets done, it moves across on the screen for you. One other powerful thing about this is, let's say I was on a different client. I was on High Power Engineering, but I see that 3J software has 3 bills to be processed. If I click right here, it'll automatically take me right into that particular client, 3J software, so I don't have to open that client or anything, and I'll be on the screen where the unprocessed bills are waiting to be done. And what happens, although that's not what I'm doing in this webinar, is when you click on one of these bills, a little PDF will pop up. It'll display the whole bill, and then it's easy for the accountant to enter the information from it. Okay, so that's the end of what I wanted to show today. And let's see, I'm gonna look at see if I see any questions. One, there was a person who was having an issue with signing up a client for CAS, so they're gonna go over there and see if that works for them. And she also said otherwise. Well, I mean, I said I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna show. Somebody was wondering how do they do it. So here's a question: what's to stop a vendor from printing the digital check image and depositing more than once? I am not sure, to be honest with you. I am confident that there's something in it that Checkbook.io will know and will not let it go. But we'll see. Is it possible to select either portrait or landscape in printing or on formatting financials? No, it's not. Now, there are some financial statements, like if you're doing a 13 column, like each month, and then the total, where we will automatically go into landscape mode, or if you're doing departments and there's a lot of departments. But as of now, we do not have the option to choose one or the other. A question about how do you get rid of recent bills when they go back many years and are not current. I think I'll have to have somebody call you to see exactly what you're saying. So these are bills, they're recent. Well, no, it's too many questions. I would actually have to call and look into it. So I will have somebody get in touch with you on that. So, a couple of things. Number one, this webinar will be there recorded. It should probably be up there tomorrow. I appreciate any comments, like any comments about the new system. If you're using it for a certain part in the program and either you like that particular screen the way it is now, or if you don't like the way it's set up, I would like to know. My name is Dave Manell. Once again, my email is dmunnell@accountantsworld.com. And I appreciate any and all comments. That's what I'm trying to say here. How do I add a user under my client's file? So I'm thinking what the question here is, if you set up a client and you allow that client to have access to the program, how do you enter staff for that client? Now that's not really what I'm going into here, but what you would do is first, you have to give your client access to the program. Then when your client logs in, or if your client allows you to log in for them, you don't really usually do it. They do it themselves. They will log in and they add staff member, very similar to the same way you add staff member. The main difference is when they are adding staff member, they can then say what permissions they want that staff person to have. So there's two levels of permissions. You give what permissions you want your clients to have, and then your clients can give permissions to what level they want their staff to have. There is a question about if you terminate a client, can it be restored with its history? Is this in accounting power? When a client is terminated in accounting power, we do at some point purge it. And usually it's on a quarterly basis. But that purge date might be 3 days from the date, the quarter might be 3 days from when you marked it to be terminated. If it hasn't been purged yet, it can be restored. And then you could print out its history. Of course, the best thing to do is before you terminate any clients is to get all the information you want from them. I mean, that you want recorded, you get it printed out and put somewhere. But I do understand that sometimes things just don't go the best way that they should be done. Once again, it's the question how to add a client user. Let's see if maybe the question's there twice. Let's see if I can log in and show you how to do it. So here I'm logging into a client and I'm logging in as a client, not as the accountant. Seven four eight one five six. So what I would do, here I am, I'm logged in as a client. I would go to the administration tab. I would come down here to add a new person. I already have one staff member, and then they would just set it up here. And then once it's set up, they go into accounting power to specify which permissions they want. Or by the same token, they also go into, if they're giving payroll or something, which permissions they want. The question about bank feeds allowing me to download the check images. No, the bank feeds do not download the check images. Now, we did work with LedgerSync before to have the check images. If you're using LedgerSync or you're interested with LedgerSync, you can register with LedgerSync. And while you're in LedgerSync, you can view the check images, and then you can export from LedgerSync to an Excel file that we're set up to automatically import. and somebody is suggesting where they would like to have print client list instead of a better way to put it. And I will look into it. Like I said, we do appreciate any and all suggestions. Client first user. How did I set up the client first user? I think I'll have to do that separate because it's too hard to really understand exactly what you're looking for. So once again, thank you very much. I appreciate you attending the webinar. I hope you got some valuable information, and I appreciate any comments you have for me about the program or anything else. Thank you very much.